Well, guys, for the first 2 minutes of the last show, I talked without my earphones in, so it was just complete, utter silence. This time, 12 seconds in, I've got one earphone in. So we're 2 minutes ahead of my last show. Welcome to 3R's Sport tonight. New and improved for 1 week because we are 2 R's and an L. First of all, we all owe a happy anniversary to our brother out there in the loser land, Robbie Davis, and his lovely wife, Allison. Happy anniversary, and welcome, Lenny, to join us tonight. Man, you're just kind of like our version of a closer. Whenever we got nobody to pitch, you're our guy. So
you got to bring in the heavy hitter.
Got to bring in the closer always.
That's right.
And join us, and Lenny's on the road, everybody. If you have any breakup or anything, just stay with us. Lenny will be there. Join us with a new and improved router, modem, and internet service from the land of Lenny Darush, Raj Mehta. What's up tonight, Raj?
Just living the dream. You forgot tolerant when it comes to Robbie's wife, Allison. She must be a saint. There's no possible way. Lenny sounds pretty rad. You sound tougher. I don't know if you have a cold or it's just like being in Des Moines. You sound pretty awesome. Des Moines is very scenic. I'm fired up, man. The UFC was fun to watch, and we also got our NFL win totals, so it should be a good time.
Yeah, we're gonna have a UFC heavy program tonight. And Lenny's a UFC guy like Raj and I are, so this is a good time to talk UFC. First of all, guys, let's just get it out front, and let's talk about the card in general. I thought it was a good UFC. The bottom of the card kind of was boring to me, but starting with the Barbosa fight up, I thought it was a real entertaining UFC. How about you, Lenny?
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Looking at the card coming into the fight, I was not terribly interested in it outside of a couple of fights. But as the card progressed, you saw a lot of good fights and a lot of good finishes and a lot of good knockouts that really kind of made it interesting, even in the women's side as well. So I was pretty pleased with how it turned out overall, to be honest with you. It was one of the more exciting free cards that I can remember in a good bit. So I was tickled pink with it.
Yeah, the girls' fight I thought was one of the better fights of the night up to that point. It was probably with Caitlin. I'm gonna slaughter her name, Chinooka, getting a 3-round win. But of course, the highlight for us during the night was the co-main and the main. Raj, what did you get from the co-main and the main?
I mean, I thought they were awesome. You actually got a straight-up knockout in the main, so a lot of people only tune in for that. Obviously, I'm biased. Benny Dariush, my boy. I was just so impressed with his well-rounded game. People have called him only a striker. They've called him only a BJJ guy. He handled Tony Ferguson throughout. Everything Ferguson brought to him, and that's an amazing fighter who everyone respects. 37 or not, he's smart and well-rounded, and I was just really impressed. Of course, I bet on him, so I was happy about that win as well. Like Lenny said, it was a pretty sweet card, the main card. The Barbosa kind of woke us up after the prelims. That dude was throwing haymakers, and that was good times. Good night.
So Lenny, let's start with the Barbosa fight. Now, we had talked, I think, on text a little bit, and I'd said I liked Barbosa. You seem to have fallen in the same camp. I think he's a calmer as a fighter, but this was a great fight. But is he a great fighter, or was it just a okay fighter matching up in a great fight?
That's an interesting question. I've always I've enjoyed watching his fights, and he's a great striker. and a good, grappler as well. But I think, this fight really kind of came together for him I can't tell you why it came together, but, it kind of put all the things together for him. And it just was kind of I don't want to say a one-off, but, it was just an exciting fight for him. And, he's this isn't his first rodeo. So, you know what I mean? He's been around for a long time. Probably on the back nine of his career, to be honest. So I was thrilled to see him win and win in that fashion.
Hey, and he's a guy that I think for 4 or 5 years I've waited to take the next step. Like 4 years ago, I thought he was a future contender. I think he's 35 now. So
Yeah,
this is a kind of a must win for him. And and it was, and he fought that way. I mean, he fought. I think he got. Hey, and credit to Dana White after Tony Ferguson called him out. He raised fight bonus up. I think another 10 grand. So now they're getting 60. He won fight of the night. Did you think it was fight of the night? Both of you. First, Lenny.
To be honest with you, I think I would have gone a different direction than that with the fight of the night. But I could see how you could easily make that decision. It was a really intriguing fight and one that was fun to watch.
Yeah. How about you, Raj? I thought the Darius fight might have won fight of the night, but I'm a little, one-sided maybe there. But what did you think of the fight of the night? Was those the two fights you had listed?
I'd probably agree with fight of the night because it was fairly iconic and memorable. I mean, he smacked him in the face, and the dude stared at him like may have moved a bit and then went down. It's like taking like 3 shots of tequila and then chasing it with Jaeger and then realizing what you did and then hitting the floor. It's kind of a knockout that people won't forget. And it was. I was pretty sure it was going to win after seeing it. I don't think I've seen that in UFC at this level. Kind of the irony about Barboza is that he went to decision with Khabib. He lost to Ferguson, and he caught Beneil Dariush with a knee early in like the second. Like he just caught him with it. And
Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, Benny learns. Most fighters learn, right? Easier said than done. But without that knee to the face, you don't see last night, in my opinion. But yeah, Barbosa's just a dangerous dude. He's capable of everything, and he can probably lose to anyone, though.
The other fight on that main card was a catchweight bout between Boturane and Schnell. It was a good fight. Again, it had to be at catchweight. It was honestly, I kind of caught a breath there and got a snack and came back. I didn't see the whole fight because I really got caught up in the girl fight, in the flyweight fight. But it was, it kind of set the tone for what happened the rest of the night. Did you get any impressions out of that fight other than just an even matchup that one fighter was a little better than the other one?
You cut out on me. What was that fight again? I couldn't hear you. The Matt Schnell fight?
Yeah, the Matt Schnell fight.
Yeah, I like that fight. I hadn't seen him fight a whole bunch before, but I thought it was certainly an intriguing fight. It's a guy that is relatively, they're mid-career guys, around 20 fights each in the professional realm. And I thought it kind of showcased that these guys are coming onto the scene and what they can do.
Yep, good point. Raj, did you get to see that fight, the Schnell fight, before the co-main?
I did. I was getting amped up, literally and figuratively, for the 2 main card fights. But it was. I think Lenny said it very well. It was. Those guys were more skilled than I thought. It was a very tactical fight. Obviously, it went to decision. I was really impressed with Victori, and I can't pronounce his name, and I think most people know about Schnell, but that guy too. He impressed me. I was, yeah.
Names are not my subject. Names and
Yeah.
names and dates. We need Robbie.
You excuse the language. You fucked up when Randall corrects you.
Yeah.
Well, I think
It was an entertaining fight, but I was in and out, admittedly.
I'll say, just going back to the prelims, I've been watching this stuff for a long time, and I've always enjoyed combat sports and BJJ. And man, to see Jakar get his arm broken and submitted by, a legit, he's been a legit black belt forever, one of the best practitioners. To see his arm get broken, you don't ever see that. It's no like when Frank Mir got his arm broken by Big Nog. Or vice versa, excuse me. Big Nog got his arm broken by Frank Mir. I mean, that was truly, that'd be like seeing Mike Tyson, just get flatlined, by his opponent. It's pretty rare.
Right. So let's get on. Good point. Let's get on to the main card. The first thing that struck me is, first of all, was the antithesis of these two guys entering the ring. Darius was so calm, so everything in the early, getting wiped down, getting into the ring. He stood there almost stoic. Then Tony Ferguson hit the ring, and he was a Tasmanian devil. It just set the tone for who those guys are, and it also set the tone for that first round. And in that first round, I really think Benny was able to establish himself and earn some respect from Ferguson early. And I think that was a huge momentum boost for him. Raj, what was your impression of the first round?
Yeah, I agree. I think, Tony Ferguson's you can't mention MMA, let alone this division, without mentioning his name. He's highly entertaining to watch. Everybody loves him. You heard the crowd there. Benny is a hardcore Christian who helps out orphanages in Haiti and, brings up Marxism. He's a man of the people, gets his ass booed the whole time. We all know who Tony Ferguson is. I can't say that he underestimated Benil, but when they went to the mat, it was easy ground control for Benny. And I think punches he had did a lot of more damage than Tony Ferguson thought. Now, Tony Ferguson's pretty much superhuman. Most guys would have tapped in the second. I know you're about to get there to that heel hook where Benny said he heard something pop, and he couldn't believe that he didn't tap. Maybe he knew that this was it. I don't know. But yeah, just a more tactical fighter at this point in their career to be. Tony's a legend. He is 37, but Darius is also 32.
Lenny,
spring chicken.
Yeah, Lenny, I think that sums it up. What was your impressions? And did you think that there was a little bit of Tony trying to impose his will in that round one, that he wanted to kind of be a bully, and he wasn't really able to bully him? But that's Tony's game, is be able to maybe bully around the cage.
Yeah, I mean, Tony's a showman, and he's previously in his career had the fireworks to back that up. And he's made people look bad in the ring, and he's a great striker, one of the best strikers out there by volume, and really can put a hurt on people. And I think Benny came out there and he put probably what his plan was into the perfect situation, is to take a great striker to the ground and out wrestle him and out, jiu-jitsu him, which is exactly what he did, that first round included. And he completely neutralized him. But, like you said, he came out there and he was pretty, his song, intro song was, it was kind of slow, and then Tony's is the opposite. But that's just kind of who they seem to be as personalities.
So we've already broached the subject, so let's get to it. And I'm sorry if you're not a UFC fan tonight. We are pretty UFC heavy, but stay with us. You'll learn a little bit. the heel hook in the second round and the sheer, agony that he was in to not submit. And Benny even said in the post-fight press conference, he heard something pop, but he also, Ferguson stung him a little bit with that up kick there at one point. I think he knew the fight was over, that he wasn't going to submit, but basically from that point on, Ferguson was a one-legged fighter. I've never seen nobody not submit in that situation. Lenny, was there a point that rung to you in another fight or something? I mean, pretty super man.
It's kind of like you saw with Jakar in the previous fight in the prelims. You know, you got a guy who is a weathered vet and a serious practitioner of jiu-jitsu and, you know, kind of maybe feeling like this is his last chance to make a title run if possible, and he's not going to tap, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that he didn't tap, and I'm surprised he was even able to put any weight on that leg. To be honest, I thought it was done after that point, you know, and that he was just going to be hobbled. But he actually had pretty decent movement on it, which surprised me.
He had a better third round than he did round one.
I would agree with that.
But the fight at that point, Raj, Benny said in his press conference he felt like the fight was over at that point, but he had to, you know, that Ferguson was still dangerous. So that third round was Benny in a little bit of, I'm going to control this fight, I'm going to do it my way, and I'm not going to let him have a chance to catch me with one?
Absolutely. We talked about that Barboza fight. You know, if anybody can catch you with something that'll knock you out, it's Tony Ferguson. You know, keep him close. You know, in terms of takedowns, I think it was 3-0. He just showed a very well-rounded approach, and that included defensively as well. You could kind of see the frustration on Ferguson's face, in my opinion. And, you know, I hate to be NBC dramatic type thing, but, you know, maybe he saw like this was kind of it, right? Like, knee pop or not, I'm not tapping. You know, this will probably be one of my last big main events. I'm just going to hang in there. And true testament to him, man. All credit to him, because I think 99% of the people in the world would have been dead after that
No doubt.
heel hook.
So it goes on to end the fight, 30-27. Benny Dariush wins. Overall, last impressions, and we'll get on. We'll circle back to these two guys in a second, but overall impressions is.
You know, Go ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead. I didn't know where to go with that anyway.
I think, you know, in a way, that fight may have not been the best fight for Benny to take. You know, I think maybe he should have fought someone who was better or at least higher ranked than Tony. You know, all credit due to Tony. He's been a force, but he's definitely on the back nine, and he's taken some beatings in the last fights, including this one, that are showing like, okay, it's probably time for you to hang up the spurs. And maybe Benny would have been better off passing and saying, hey, I would like to fight someone with a little bit more gas in the tank. But either way, I think it definitely pushes him up the ladder. Maybe he could have gotten up to closer to a title fight faster if he had fought another guy higher. But, you know,
yeah,
I think Benny's rising, obviously, and Tony, this may be his last fight for sure.
You know, Benny tried. He's not that guy. You know, I know from actually hearing it from people that know him well. You know, he's not WWE, call you out, you know, get up in your face. You know, he tried it a little bit, and you're like, really? That's what you got? He's just a humble dude that wants to prove it. And this was he has begged to get big names, into the octagon, and this was the biggest he got. And now you have to take him seriously. But yeah, now you get into that top 5, top 4, top 3 range where, you know, those dudes are no joke. So we'll see what's up. Plus, he's having a baby in 2 weeks, so there's going to be some time off. You know, it'll be interesting to see.
To that point, it was a good fight, and he walks out of that fight, I think, a legitimate top 6 easily in the world. The next fight for the vacant lightweight championship, of course, that Khabib left. Michael Chandler, a lot of controversy with him being the pick, second UFC fight against the guy that I felt like had been there for a while, and Charles Oliveira.
Olivier, there you go.
And I thought the first round, Chandler came out. I thought we were going to see 5 rounds of wrestling. 90 seconds into the second round, it's over. First round, couldn't win any better for Chandler, Lenny. Could he have wrote it better?
He could have. I was surprised to see him. He got Charles. He dinged him real hard, starched him, and Charles was trying to do an ankle pick or do some kind of leg where he could wrap him up. And I was surprised to see Chandler go in for that and engage him on the mat instead of standing back up. I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
He had starched him. And if I had been probably in his own mind, he wishes he probably stood back up and had the opportunity to do that again.
Lenny, Raj, what's your impression of the fight?
Exact same, man. I think he learned his lesson. Unfortunately for him, he was on the biggest stage there is, and who knows how many opportunities you get. But yeah, I mean, at that point, I think he won the first round, and he wore out a very tough dude, the king of submissions, of finishes, of performances of the night. But true to Oliveira's credit, he caught him, and it was a pretty nasty left hook, and Dunzo. And that's UFC. It's crazy. That's UFC in a nutshell to me.
So this was me, and I got to paint this picture real fast, and we'll get back. So I sat down at the first round, and I think, okay, this might be over fast, so I'm going to watch this. I watched the first round, and I think, oh, this is a war. I get up to go get pizza out of the refrigerator and come back, and the fight's over. I literally had to rewind the first 19 seconds of the second round. That was a super clean shot. It was no argument. And in the post-fight press conference, Chandler said he's a future lightweight champion. Everybody says that. So the $1 million question, is Chandler a future lightweight champion?
I think he's certainly got the energy and the momentum right behind him to do it now. He's going to have to take a couple of strikes back and go through some other guys to try that out. I think his kind of fighting style, I'll plead ignorance on this. I wasn't too terribly familiar with him in Strikeforce before he came over. He reminds me of a very dominant striker. And I can't say I've seen a lot of his other talents in the cage utilized besides that. And the UFC, if you're lopsided in one skill set, it will get exposed. And I don't know, we'll just have to see how it plays out. He looks to me like a Matt Serra or a Sean Shirk back in the day, a guy who's super muscled up and can light you up. And he would love to get on top of you and kind of do that, like Tito Ortiz, where he's like swinging like this instead of, punching. But I think he could definitely get you. So we'll see. I really can't say one way or the other on that.
So, Raj, I was listening to another podcast, and the guy had a similar statement about Chandler. He goes, but he's an All-American at Missouri. And the other guy on the podcast goes, everybody's an All-American at this level. His wrestling is not that exceptional. His way to victory was being able to throw hands. I think the Sean Shirky comparison is very spot on. What do you think of his future? And I mean, he's going to be a fun guy to watch fight. I just don't know if he's a future champ in the UFC.
I presume he'll become more well-rounded. I don't think it's a comment on Bellator versus UFC. Some people like to say that. I mean, the reality is they're pretty damn similar, if not the same. But the thing I would say is what Lenny said. UFC is a bit more well-rounded, a bit more tactical. It's scored more tactically, if you will, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, the future's bright for him. How old is he? I forgot how old he was, but I mean, he's 22-6. He's highly marketable. His nickname is Iron, right? Like,
Right.
I mean, everyone loves somebody to knock somebody out. Oh, he's 35. Oh shit, that kind of defeats my own argument. But
He's a two-time Bellator champion. He's the only guy in Bellator ever to lose it and win it back. So
I did not know that.
He's got some age on him.
He certainly seems hungry. I'll give him that.
I think you're both right. Now, before we get off the subject of UFC, I want to talk about the division overall. We still got a big fight coming up. I think it's 2 UFC. I think it's 264. Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier. Poirier is currently ranked number 1. This was Poirier's fight. Chandler got Poirier's spot in this fight, basically, because Poirier wants the money fight, and good for him. Make the money. That's what it's about. So, let's handicap that real fast. Is it the same fight again, or are we going to have a different Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier 3? Lenny, we'll start there with you.
Man, I think Conor McGregor is probably more interested at this point in his life in his other money-making ventures, whether it's his whiskey or his celebrity status or his boxing stuff. I think he's not as hungry, and I think he's been exposed a little bit in the last couple fights of that, and I think it's Dustin again. I think he was never any danger against that Conor fight, and I think he takes him handily again, to be honest with you.
Okay. Just happened to notice new rankings is out. Of course, Oliveira is champion now. Poirier 1, Gaethje 2, Dariush is 3, Chandler 4, McGregor 5th. So Benny takes a 6-spot jump in official UFC rankings. What do you think about the McGregor Poirier fight, Raj?
It's a money grab. I don't blame either fighter for doing it. I don't think Gregor, I mean, shit. The guy's theoretically, so he claims, Ireland's first billionaire athlete, or maybe even billionaire overall. I don't know what Mr. Jameson or Mr. Guinness are up to at these points, and their families. Why he fights anymore, aside from being a name, I don't know. He got handled last time. I agree with Lenny that I think Poirier would just destroy him. I mean, if I'm him and I sell a whiskey company, I'm pretty much gonna hang it up and sit ringside and get my name flashed up on the big screen.
So I read an article this week that says Conor McGregor, if he beats Dustin Poirier and somehow wins the UFC title, actually hurts the UFC. And I think there's some truth to that. And the point being that UFC has already seen the Conor McGregor show. Lenny, do you think the UFC is just one of those? I think, and I do, I agreed with it. You need fresh blood constantly in the UFC to keep it interesting.
Well, I think it kind of detracts from other people's chances. Obviously Conor's getting that spot or the ability to fight again like that because of his name and the attention that he has garnered. Where honestly it probably should go to another fighter who's hungrier and maybe a little bit more deserving at this point.
I agree. Raj, your thoughts?
Identical. It's name recognition only. In my opinion, he hasn't been that guy for many years, in my opinion. And but we all tune in. He's going to get the most amount of pay-per-view clicks, and he's still a name until somebody ends him very early on, which probably will happen in this next fight.
Are either of you interested in seeing Mayweather McGregor too?
Not at all.
Yeah. All right. Last question. We'll get on to some football about the UFC, and I love. Hey, I'm going to encourage you if you've not given the UFC a chance through podcasting. I've gave it a chance, and it has become quickly one of my favorite sports. And it's just a lot of. It's not that if you've not watched UFC in quite a few years, go give it another look. It's not what it used to be.
It's not Kimbo Slice in the backyard, like
No,
knocking some
no.
dude out. And I was the same way. Obviously there's personal connection, but it's that got me into it, and you start appreciating, the different martial arts forms, abilities. I mean, we feel like we can see what's coming, even though there's no delay. But it's just amazing. I mean, these guys are so skilled; it's ridiculous. And I just such an appreciation for them as athletes and as humans. I mean, you have to be smart to do what the good ones do as well. It's highly entertaining.
It feels like it's brutal but safe. I know it's kind of a contradictory of my own words, but I don't ever feel like they're not willing to throw the end of a fight before somebody's permanently hurt. But honestly, broken bones, broken eye sockets are part of this sport, and you have to accept it. But I also accept that in football. And fans don't look at it that way. But when I walk into Neyland Stadium, somebody's probably going to get hurt. So, Lenny, where are you at with UFC? I know you've been a loyal fan for a while.
I've always enjoyed it. I'll just go ahead and say there's another big fight coming up that I'm stoked about.
Go ahead.
On June 12th, Israel Adesanya versus Marvin Victori. I think that should be really good. I mean, Marvin, I think, has pushed as many fighters as he can to the limit. I think Israel will be up against it too. But no, actually, I think UFC is relatively safe in comparison to long-term damage. It's not boxing where you're getting repeated hits to the head all the time. You're getting one big one, and you're out, but you're not taking, 15, 100 little shots around over the course of the 12 rounds and, end up permanently damaged. And you will see a broken bone every now and again. That's pretty rare, though, to be honest. But I think it's exciting. I think it's far more interesting and compelling than any boxing.
Yeah, absolutely. After paying for the Billy Joe Sanders Canelo fight, it'll be a while before I'm back. That was really, I didn't enjoy myself, and that was one of the better fights. Also, that's the return in 263. Was supposed to be in 262, but in 263, we get the return of Nate Diaz, who is a household name for this sport for some reason and has been. And I think that's interesting. That's holding my eyes. Who would you rather see the champ in the lightweight fight? The winner of McGregor, Poirier, or Justin Gaethje? Considering that
Good.
Benny's stepping away for 6 months, 8 months, or something.
I'd like to see Justin Gaethje get a chance. I like him as a fighter. I think he's entertaining, and the beating he put on Tony Ferguson is one of the worst I've ever seen. And I'd like to see him get a shot. But I'm not sure he could beat Dustin Poirier, to be honest. He looks to be next level talented. So I think it's Dustin's division right now for the moment.
I tend to agree. Rog, who would you like to see fight for the title? Poirier, Gaethje?
Those two. I mean, I agree. They're both very talented fighters that are more or less in the prime of their career, if you will. Lenny's absolutely right. That fight of the night, performance of the night for Gaethje over Ferguson, that was an eye opener. That was like, wow. He's run through the gauntlet. I mean, they fought each other. I don't remember how long ago, but it was a good fight. But they're both different fighters now. That's exactly what I'd want to see. Poirier's a bad dude, man. I mean, that's, should have been him and Oliveira in this fight, probably. We all know. But that would be a heck of a fight. There's no doubt about it.
And I think I really want to see that fight, too. I really want to see that fight. And I think we've got a lot of good fights coming up. And I think after the first of the year, we'll probably get Benny back into the division in the loser of one of these fights. Like, he will get an eliminator bout. And if he beats, like, say, a Poirier loses or something, he might be up for a title shot. On to the next subject in the NFL. So we got a couple of different NFL subjects we're going to talk about, but let's get rid of one of the rather short ones tonight. So we all are college football fans. We all have seen Clemson. We all probably agree that Travis Etienne was a special running back at Clemson. He goes to rookie minicamp, and Urban Meyer strictly practices him at wide receiver. Now, Urban, after the draft, was very vocal that he wanted to draft Kadarius Toney from Florida, who is a wide receiver to similar size as Etienne. Do you buy that Urban Meyer is trying to turn Travis Etienne to a wide receiver, or was this just a shot to say you need to improve your wide receiver skills, your catch skills? Robinson's our first and second down. You're going to be our third down guy. What do you make of this only practice at wide receiver, Lenny?
I think you've got a proven back who's good right now in Robinson, in my opinion. And, I think Travis will have to, earn his stripes to get playing time. And I do think he could be dangerous coming out of the slot or backfield, kind of as a shifty little player, maybe like I'm forgetting the guy's name out of Kansas City, Tyreek Hill. Obviously, I don't think he has that kind of burning speed or elusiveness, but maybe Urban thinks he could be utilized in such a fashion that he could be kind of, a scat back that can also play out of the backfield on screens and slot possessions.
Maybe a Kareem Hunt type back.
Yeah,
okay. You have Nick Chubb as the lead back. But in Cleveland, I think we both would agree, Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb are lead backs in different situations, Raj. Is Urban trying to recreate that now with Robinson and Etienne?
We talked about this a little bit before, Thunder and Lightning. I'll always go back to Reggie Bush and Lendale White. I know it's college football. Countless examples in the NFL. These dudes are the same size. I mean, They are basically the same skill set. Urban Meyer once called his offense a power offense with a shotgun spread. What that means, I don't know exactly, but it was power football with a spread set, and it was a shotgun to run spread. So, I just think he's going to be maybe a little collegiate in terms of how he's going to use Etienne in motion and, a little gimmicky, if you will. I don't think he wanted to draft him. They drafted him. It is what it is. But, yeah, right now he's getting headlines, and really what Jacksonville needs is people watching them.
That's true. That's true. I do like that statement. Bonus question. I didn't have y'all prepared for this one because I just wanted to get your gut reaction. Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, Javonte Williams. In your fantasy draft was today, how would you rank them as far as where you would draft them? Harris, Etienne, Williams, Harris, Etienne. And we'll start with the three-time champ, Lenny.
I'd probably go Najee Harris, Etienne, and then Williams, but that's hard to, so much of that depends on the system and what's in front of them and how they're going to be utilized. But I think just out of college, it's hard to go wrong with Najee Harris, man. I'm just, as a Tennessee guy, I hate to say it, but he's just incredible.
Yeah, I mean you just kind of at this point tip your hat to him. How about you there, Raj? You look deep in thought. That usually means you're going to come up with something cool, poignant.
I was just gonna say I've only been in the league 4 years, and the final 3 times. And one of the times, Lenny, I thought I won the trade, and I gave him Brady and something else. And true to Lenny form, he beat me. I think you beat me by half a point in last year's playoffs. But hey, more power to you. You've been the best player over the last. But yes, it does make me salty, obviously. To answer the question, Najee for sure. Javonte is a mean back, but I mean Bridgewater, Drew Lock, and he's also behind Melvin Gordon. So I would definitely go Najee, Etienne, and then Javonte. But I love the pick for Denver. Javonte's a mean dude, man. Both those North Carolina running backs, those dudes were bad. So I would agree that's the case. But like Lenny said, it depends what's in front of you and what's around you.
Would it make a difference if Aaron Rodgers was in Denver?
I would have to say so.
I would
think so.
All right, guys. Well, we'll touch back to the NFL here in just a second. It looks like we're going to get all 4 topics in. So I want to hit on this one because we were supposed to have Brendan Chain here with us tonight, too. Brendan had a family obligation. It's okay. But I want to congratulate Brendan. He had a hole-in-one this week, which is a huge accomplishment. Something I've never done outside of a putt-putt course. But it got a conversation going on a side text with some of my friends. And even in our group text. I always played softball, and then I had my accident, and I can't really play softball or golf. Chris, our friend Chris, is a fantastic bowler. But you wouldn't think of Chris as a bowler. I mean, like a plus 200 bowler. What?
It's like a bowler to me.
Yeah, well, he's built like one. He was also a second baseman on my softball team, and that's more shocking than anything. Lenny, what do you do for enjoyment, and what hobbies do you have in sports? And I'll ask the follow-up question after we get around one time.
So I've done the bowling league before. I actually, when I was traveling for work out in Virginia Beach, I unknowingly joined a bowling league, thinking it was just going to be a social league, but it turned out to be a bunch of serious dudes who were out there, and they were bowling in the high 200s, mid 200s, and I'm out there, if I break 130, it's a great game for me. So I've done that before, and it's a lot of fun. If you could get a good group of people that you're friends with and do that, I would do that all the time. And I would definitely like to try the softball league. I think that would be fun. In terms of stuff that I do, I do some. Before COVID got too serious, I was in doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and
nice.
Then I did CrossFit for a while, and I fish as well. So that's not really, I guess you call fishing a sport, but that's the kind of stuff I did. But I'm looking to do some more social stuff, especially. I'd love to join a softball league and or volleyball league either. They got plenty of that. So.
That's fine. And another thing that's becoming real popular in this area is adult kickball leagues. I mean, it's like a serious sport. Raj, what do you do to get your exercise?
It's a great question. At 45 with back problems, and somebody who grew up playing basketball, baseball, everything else, anything I try to do, basically at the risk of injury, is like 98%. All of my good buddies from college, they're all into golf. I try. I'm not the worst either. We played 72 in a weekend a while back in Denver. I don't know why I'm giving you these details. I'd never played 72 in my life. And I liked it, but then I came back and like, oh, yeah, I'm going to play. I mean, literally, what else can I play that the risk of injury is low and I get to drink? And I do like bowling, though. But, yeah, I mean, I just don't have the love yet. And that's a sore subject for me right now, especially, I used to love to ride my bike, and I'm just talking a beach cruiser, you ride your beach cruiser on the street of Chattanooga, you're going to get run over by like umpteen amount of vehicles.
Probably with a Hank Jr. flag on the back of it too. Just a point.
Hell yeah, man. Seriously, dude. I am duck hunt, a brown guy in a beach cruiser.
Yeah.
just. But no, I mean, golf is really the only option the way I feel, and I do enjoy it, but I don't love it, and maybe I'm putting too much pressure on myself to love it because I wish I did.
Yeah, I'm even older than you. I'm well past the age. I played very, very high competitive softball at one point, and I loved it. But back to the point that Lenny made, you have to enjoy who you're with to play softball. Like, you have to have a group of guys that's kind of like our fantasy league, someone you want to spend time with. A follow-up, and this is comical in a way, but does fantasy sports in today's society take the place of like, hey, we're going to go out and hit 18 or we're going to play softball? I work on my fantasy football teams every day. Like, I mean, a random Tuesday, I'll log in and I'll see if somebody made a trade or I'll make a trade offer. How much time do you, 3-time champ, how much time do you spend on your fantasy football team?
I think probably would surprise a lot of people in the league about how much I look at statistics in the league and go through and see who's moving up and who's moving down. I think to be successful in fantasy, you have to do a couple things. You got to have a pretty good draft. If you have a poor draft, you're putting yourself behind the 8 ball. And then you have to be very active on the waiver wire. And then you're going to have to make a couple trades, at least one trade that works out in your favor.
Yeah.
And luck, no doubt.
Last year I was your victim.
There's always going to be a sucker somewhere. But,
yeah.
I think you got to look at it. I think I'm probably spending during the course of NFL, I'd say at least 2 hours a week, but I don't watch a lot of football. I don't watch a lot on television, but I do look at it religiously in terms of statistics online.
Raj, I think Lenny, I do that too, Lenny. I watch the Falcons religiously because I'm a huge Falcons fan, but that's usually the 12 or 1 o'clock game or 1 o'clock here. I usually watch the 4 o'clock national game, whichever it is. But then the rest of my night is spent on looking at the stats from other games. If the Falcons are not on or a good game's not on, I'm on Yahoo where I can have like all 8 games up watching all the stats. And even when the Falcons are playing, I have my laptop in front of me. And it's like those integrated little stats where you can have all. And every time somebody runs the ball, I'm like, oh, 8-yard gain. So I'm kind of weak on the stat thing. But Raj, how about you?
I can't micro focus on it. It's just too much. It's fun for me to say and it is a hobby to say it's a substitute for like doing anything outside. I'm getting fat, but not like that fat. Like, I just picture a bunch of dudes from New York, like, hey, you got a legitimate excuse, serious accident. Like sitting around and, man, I'm nachos, and that's my impression of New York guy. But I mean, it's just fun, and I try not to. I used to be in like 5 leagues, and that took up a lot of time, and you would get confused, and you have to, which one am I going to do waiver wire first? And to this league's credit, it's been the most fun I've ever been in. Sorry, all of my boys I grew up with. There's just an energy and a juice to it. That being said, I have DirecTV's Sunday ticket, which is the worst investment ever. I just watch Red Zone primarily. I think it's fun. the age-old question is, would you pull for your fantasy team versus your own team? My team being the Raiders. I mean, at least I win money on my fantasy team. But no, I'd still be loyal to the team that, I grew up with. It's still just, kind of a nerd computer game to me. But I happen to be okay at it because I can't really do any other sports at this point. So,
Raj, what amazes me, though, and you did it last year, and I think you do it without even trying. You have the breakdown of, you're such a college football fan, you have the breakdown of every rookie without even making an effort. I remember during last year's draft, we're in the 12th round, he's going, and you're answering questions like, stud out of Oregon, can run the ball, he's going to be great at that too. And I don't think you do any prep to do that. I think that's just your life.
was that Kenyon Barner?
Yeah. I mean, it's just who you are.
Yeah, I'm Rain Man when it comes to useless things.
Lenny, you seem to be the master of trading a little bit, and I'll ask you one time: how much thought do you put into a trade?
I put a lot into it. I try to find a position that I'm weak in, and a position that I'm over.
You did that last year.
I've got too many guys at this, and then I try to, find somebody who's the opposite of that. Hey, this guy needs a wide receiver, and I'm stacked at it, and he's got plenty of running backs, and I think I'm going up and down on it. So I'm trying to, put out a tempting offer always. And, of course, you got to start with your side being a little lopsided, and then you got to counter and come back, and it's a delicate balance.
Yeah, it took us about 4 weeks to complete a trade, but it was fun. I have fun doing trades.
Of course.
So that'll finish that part up. Let's move on to our next subject, and we're going to stay kind of in the NFL here, and we're approaching. We'll probably run about another 25 minutes. And we're a little later than usual, so I want to plug it again. From now on, 3R Sports will be on River City Media, iLogic, Drafted Upside, a to-be-determined streaming internet service that will be live, maybe an internet radio station. Signed the paperwork today to come. Also, we will be the Off the Record with Randall show will be at 7:30. At least for the summer, Rod. Just seems like a better fit for us. So we'll write it out. Also, anyone that's interested, again, if you are on that group text and you wanted to have your own podcast, contact me. I have 24/7 open. We'll figure you out a show. So back to the NFL just for a second, guys. And I don't know if you've got your list pulled up, but Ross suggested something, and I thought it was great. For this first time I looked at it, NFL released its schedule. Soon later that day, Vegas were releasing win total futures. I had not looked at them until Raj sent me the link. So what we did was each one of us took our link, and we won't give all 5 of them at one time, but we'll go through, and maybe we repeat ourselves, and maybe we don't. But let's start with the top of the list. If you had one team that you had to bet your nuts on to start this competition here, who would be your first team you chose over or under? We'll start this one with Raj.
I thought about this. I try to be positive. There's a few teams that, like, their win totals, like the Titans, I don't see 9.5 happening, but, I'm surrounded by Titans fans. I don't want to be rude. Dude, I really like the Buffalo Bills at 10.5. Their division, I think, is overhyped. You got Mac Jones and Tua. I know they signed Kobe Brissett. Then you got the Jets, who traded one quarterback for the same but younger and more, I don't want to say reserved. But looking at their schedule too, I think it's a very, they have Houston on there. They're at Tennessee, at Jacksonville, the Jets. And that's a team with an awesome defense, a quarterback that is improving, some serious weapons on offense. So it's a lot of wins. And I also love Kansas City at 12. But, Buffalo 10.5 is one that I really like.
That one was on my list too. I'll get to it in a minute too. Lenny?
So you want to go the over on this or the under?
Either way, it's your choice.
Whatever you feel more comfortable about.
I think the Ravens at 11 is a lock for the under. I don't see that happening in any shape, form, or fashion.
All right. I'm going. Mine's going to be heavy teams that I follow. So don't think anything about it. My number one, the one that jumped off of me, and let me just follow it up by saying this one could blow up in my face. Now, this division, the NFC South, it's the NFC East, which means everybody gets to play the football team, the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Giants. And then they get the AFC East, which I think you're right, is overrated, but you get the Dolphins and the Bills, the Patriots. But the New Orleans Saints at 9 seems to me to be so overstated. I envision Jameis Winston being their starting quarterback. When I just wrote down things quickly, I had them about 6-11. So my number one is I'm going to go Saints under. So now maybe we'll work back to you. Give us a couple of yours, and we'll save the last couple.
I'll say this. I think on a side note, I think Jameis might have a fantasy season next year. I'm just going to throw that out there. But for me, I think I was agreeing with you on that with the Saints for sure. I think the Dolphins at 9, definitely the under in that. I do not think Tua is going to make it in the NFL. Call me a hater. I just do not see that happening. I think the Cardinals at 8 is actually interesting. I think they might have a come-up season, maybe come over that, a little bit of a breakout year. Maybe that's just me being anticipating success for Kyler Murray. I like watching him play. He is exciting. I think the Broncos are going to be in for a bad year. I think 7.5, unless they get Rodgers or whatever happens there. I think that's going to be they'll be lucky to do that.
Yeah, Rod, you want to throw a few out at us, and I'll give you mine a couple more, and then say maybe one more round, and we'll call it a night.
Anytime Denver is an under 7.5, the team I loathe the most, I'm all in. I said I like the Chiefs. I forgot the Pats at 9. How is this suddenly a 9-win team with Mac Jones, a couple of decent tight ends?
Yeah.
That's a lot of wins. The Jets are at 6. How did the Jets win 6 games? I don't see that. I hate to say this, the Titans are at 9.5. And you got a defense that got Bud Dupree, but overall they're very average, if not below average, especially in the secondary. And Derrick Henry is amazing. He's one of the best running backs I've ever seen. But how long can he have 800 carries a year? It's they got A.J. Brown. I think they lost Corey Davis. Tannehill. I mean, is anyone going to say Tannehill is going to lead you to a championship? Probably not. He just won't F it up. Excuse my language. But, he's more of a game manager. The Colts are at 10. I question that. Great offensive line, but who is Carson Wentz? Jacksonville's at 6. That's a lot, too. But really getting down to it, I don't like Seattle at 10. That's a tough division. Their defense sucks. So how long can Russell Wilson run for his life?
I'm going to throw one out that I'm shocked nobody's mentioned.
Cleveland.
Well, Cleveland's on my list, but the Steelers started 11-0, and they're at 8.5. how is this? And they add Najee Harris. Is everybody selling out on Ben Roethlisberger at this point? Is his career over? Or, I mean, interpret yourself.
I don't know if it's over, but I mean, it's certainly, granted, they were on a tear last year, but I don't think it's hard. It's counterintuitive, but they don't really strike fear in the hearts of people. Granted, they were great last year, but I don't know. I don't see them this year as much, and I think Big Ben is definitely on the back nine. So I think he's got a couple more years, and they begin that cycle anew.
Lenny, what do you think? 8.5 seemed low to me on the Steelers.
I saw him at 9. To be fair,
yeah, it could be different. I mean, I looked at DraftKings and sent y'all a different link.
I think 8.5 is probably fair for where they should be. They're gonna, I think, probably come off of that high note last year and fall down a little bit. It would be my anticipation. I think an interesting one is Cleveland, but and the 49ers at 10, it seems awfully high to me. But what do I know? So
let's talk about Cleveland just real fast. I think Cleveland, if there's one team that's going to go from non-contender to Super Bowl, is it Cleveland? Is Cleveland the one team that could break out in 21? Raj?
I mean, they made the playoffs last year, right?
Right.
I'm not a Baker guy. I don't think he's a guy that's going to take you to the next level, whatever the hell that means. I love their offense aside from him. Like Indianapolis, they've one of the best offensive lines in the league. I like the receivers, Higgins, Landry, ODB, obviously Chubb and Hunt. I don't know what's changed to make them. They got players, but what has changed from last year to this year? And people say Jadeveon Clowney, Clown being the emphasis. Ooh, that was a lot. Just ask Titan fans, that dude is.
He's a bum.
Yeah, dude, he's a bum. He's all name. I love them getting the Notre Dame linebacker. But, when I look at that defense, they also got John Johnson from the Rams. Did they do enough to push them past where they were last year? I don't think so, unless we see something different from Baker, which I'm just not a fan. So I see them making the playoffs, but, some people are saying championship or bust. They haven't paid their dues. Maybe I think a huge success would be to make it to the championship game, but, I think this is another first-round exit.
All right, I'm going to go through a couple of teams. All you give me is over or under, and we'll do a couple of teams we haven't talked about. Y'all ready to go? We'll call this a speed round. So I'm gonna go with Dallas Cowboys at 9.5.
Under.
The Chargers at 9.
Push.
Can we say push? I was going to say, can we say push?
Yeah, push is an option. The Minnesota Vikings at 8.5.
Under.
Over.
Here's one that was on my list, and I'll go ahead and say I'm over. Washington football team at 8.
Over.
I actually like them over too. Yeah.
What was yours, Raj?
That defense is stout.
It is. All right. The Raiders at 7.5.
I don't care what you said, under.
Okay. I'm going to go push. How about you, Lenny, at 7.5?
I'm going to go push, actually. I'm going to go push, too.
How the hell do you push on 7.5 games?
Because we don't want to take it either way.
They get a tie? You can't push it 7.5. That's why they put a half. You got to say 7 or 8.
John Gruden will find a tie for us. No, seriously, I would go under. Would be my number. Here's the one that surprised me: the Bears at 7, because I kept hearing talk. There's a quarterback away from a Super Bowl team. Yeah. That's not a team that's a quarterback away.
I'm going under.
Under. Andy Dalton, is he supposed to lead Justin Fields to the promised land? No.
All right. And I'll go ahead. I'm going over, and they make the playoffs. The Atlanta Falcons at 7.
I like over on that, to be honest.
What makes you think they'd be the over based upon improvement from last year, aside from Kyle Pitts and Julio Jones possibly being healthy?
A fourth finish.
I just look at Atlanta and I always see so many pieces. I just can't help but how can they not put it together better? They're getting not Arthur Blank. What's his face?
Arthur
Cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, Arthur Smith. I think they maybe put together some more, pizzazz down there and maybe turn a new leaf.
I'm going
two
under.
more.
I'm
Two
going
more.
under in Atlanta.
Two more directly from the last year's biggest trade. The Detroit Lions at 5.
I'll take the over, bro.
Yeah,
I
think
that seems low.
You got Ragnow and a Pro Bowl offensive lineman. They've improved. They haven't gotten any worse, per se. They're not in the toughest division in the world. Yeah, 5 is, that's the same as the 10.
Yeah,
over all day.
I'm going over.
All right. And then I think one of the more interesting and one of the teams that we really didn't talk about. So let's take this is to me one of the teams that has a very short window, but they should win. Matthew Stafford with the Rams. I think it's at 10.5. It's a tough division, but if the Rams are ever going to get done, it's this year. Don't you agree?
I agree with that in theory. I love Stafford. I think he's an underrated quarterback. I think he got abused in Detroit, and I like the pieces they have in the Rams. I'm not seeing it come together for them this year. They always seem to be in games where it's 45-37, 54-45. I don't see it happening, but I like the team.
Well, that goes directly to your Cardinals pick. Seems like you put a little more, and the Cardinals are going to take a step up in that vision than Stafford and the Rams are going to reestablish themselves. And then there's the wild card. Can Wilson do it by himself another year? So, Roger, what's your win total on the Rams?
It's tough. Their line is not the best in the world. You have to have a line to keep Stafford alive. But, Higbee, they paid their dues, number one. Their running backs, Akers and Henderson Jr., that they've been in the fire. I'm a firm believer in people getting experience and paying their dues. I love Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, former Trojan, Van Jefferson, Sean Jefferson's kid. Defensively, I think they were the number one defense in the NFL at the end of the year last year. You definitely have the best corner in the league and the best defensive
interior
lineman in the league. Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald. Leonard Floyd still killing people. It comes down to schedule, and you look at schedule. The Niners are a big wild card because Trey Lance and a very good team, but they play the Bears. Look at their schedule now. Obviously, Seattle, they got the Giants, Detroit, Houston, the Titans, Jacksonville, Minnesota. This team could easily win 11 games.
And that's kind of where I got to. Is it kind of crazy to say everybody in the West could end up with a winning record and be like 3-3 or 4-2 in their division? I mean, it's kind of crazy. That division seems really good.
Projected win totals below 500, which I'm not sure how that actually works out. But I'm not going to question Vegas.
Yeah. Well, and we'll start wrapping up now. We've got our final thoughts, and of course, your bet your nuts. And of course, we don't. Hello to everybody. Omar is sending you some greetings, Raj. He said that has a very expensive face. I don't know what that means, but let's go with that. One of the things that I heard before we got on the air is how the NBA, we care for very little NBA, but this intrigued me. 7, 8, 9, and 10 are playing a kind of a play-in situation, and this goes directly to what's going to be my nuts pick here in a little bit. Hey, Loretta Spivey, how are you tonight? So it's going to go, but what do y'all think of the Lakers playing one and done with Golden State? It kind of starts feeling a little like college basketball.
Raj, I'll let you go first.
I'll let Raj is suffering over there with that one.
If you want me to go first, this is a team coming off a championship that, with Andre Drummond and Dennis Schroeder, has maybe played 2 games together, all of them. To get a 1 game against arguably the best shooter in the history of the game.
Yeah.
I think we all see Steph going off for like 80. The Lakers, the other thing too is, and I'm not making excuses, last year was pretty gnarly in terms of the bubble. They were just going after each other. There wasn't much defense. There was no time off. They were stuck in that area. The Lakers had like less than 3 months off, and they're old. That's not good. Their 2 best players have been hurt. Now you got to have a playing game, let alone like whatever may come after that. Part of me, they lose to Steph and the Warriors, even though I know a lot of Warriors fans and they're all jerks. I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it. I just don't see them winning it all this year. So,
but the beauty of it, even if they lose to Steph and the Warriors, they get to play again to get in the playoffs. So 7 and 8 plays, 7 and 8 winner goes to the 7th seed. The 8th seed will then play the winner of the 9-10 seed to get the 8th seed.
Sorry, so we're not used to these play-in games,
I know, it's ridiculous. It's kind of crazy. So the Lakers could end up having to play 2 play-in games back to back. So I was not very pro the whole system. And to be honest, the Lakers and the odds at plus 400 is going to be my bet my nuts pit later on. Because if you tell me LeBron's healthy, AD's healthy, and I'm getting them at plus 425, I'm going to put a couple of dollars on that. So, all right. Well, we'll get the bet the nuts in just a second. Thank you for joining us. We're an hour 15 in. We're going to wrap it up because that's about as long as my phone will last with supporting everything that's going on. So let me go first.
Thank you to Lenny, who upstaged Rob by just being there, let alone with content.
Oh, and prepared.
It was my pleasure. It was my pleasure.
And prepared, Raj. It was kind of strange, wasn't it? So, yeah, and good looks. And a championship in this decade. So I think, even though it's a long-term bet, that I did it today. I put 10 or $20 on the Lakers plus 450 to win the NBA championship. I also put $20 on the Washington Bullets at plus like 1,100 to win the NBA championship. So those are my 2 bet your nuts picks. And no, I won't get an answer anytime soon, but I can have something that makes me interested in the NBA playoffs. That was my way of doing it. Lenny, since you are the guest, then you can go next because it sounds like you're going to be more prepared than I was.
I'm going actually for a subject we haven't covered, and that's NHL hockey. I'm going to take the Predators at under 5.5 goals versus I can't. Of course, I blank on them as soon as it comes to me. Their opponent, but the Florida Panthers.
Yeah,
I think the Panthers win, but I think it's under 5.5 goals.
Nice. We got some hockey content. Well, I would like to get some more hockey content going at some point. Raj, what have you got tonight?
Dude, I'm taking the Grizzlies -4 against the Spurs and Ja Morant's first ever playoff game. A while since it's been a playoff game in Memphis. They lost the first game of the year to San Antonio, but they rolled them up a couple times. That's an older team, even though my Trojan boy DeMar DeRozan's out there. When Memphis plays together, led by Morant, I think I'll take them with 4 all day.
Well, is that game tonight?
Tomorrow.
Okay.
So I don't want to have to roll all that long with the Lakers. I'll let it stand as one of my official bet my net picks. But I was going to go with the Grizzlies too in a short term bonus. So we'll let both of them stand for me. If the Grizzlies cover, we'll call it this week. But at the end of the NBA playoffs, my pick of the Lakers will either be a plus or minus. So
It's a war of attrition, and I hate to say it. I'm one of the biggest Lakers fans on earth. I don't see them staying alive for this run. You know, and there's a lot more competition this year.
it is.
I'd be very surprised if they won it all. Very.
Well, you know, that $10 could turn into 40 like that, man.
I know you're a big game hunter.
Yeah. All right. Final thoughts. Let me go ahead and then I'll pass it on to Lenny. But final thoughts. Again, I need you to follow us on River City Media on Facebook, on YouTube, which is working again, and River City Media 3 on Twitter. We have an opportunity to do some stuff connected with football that's going to be coming up. And basically, everywhere we've walked into, we've been able to show the number of views, you know, how much we have going on. And we don't tell that just so we pat ourselves on the back. It's what you've made us relevant, and people noticing that. But the first question we always get is, how many you got on social media? How many you got on Twitter? Well, we've got 12 on Twitter because we've only been going 60 days. So we might have 15,000 views, but anything you can do to help us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, we would greatly appreciate it. Lenny, final thoughts for the night.
Man, I'm happy to stand in and, you know, take Robbie's spot. Obviously, I think I do a better job. And, you know, whenever you need a better looking, more informed co-host, just holler at me and I'll gladly take a spot.
Well, I think one of the things that's under review and work right now is a permanent spot for Lenny and Chain. And I think that's going to happen probably with the coming of football season. Something we need to get a group text going about. But I tell you something, man, and this is from the heart. You and Chain are a show yourself, man. And somehow we've just got to get it on the air on a consistent basis. But I thank you for joining us, and you're always great. And Allison was happy that you said it because she had plans for Robbie, and I don't know what that is. I didn't ask.
She's going to love watching him pass out after drinking too much on their anniversary.
Oh, that's funny.
All right, Raj, before you get to the bottom of the wine, Armar said, what do you got?
You know, I want to explain. I'm not just a homer. One of my best friends from college, he ended up being a physician, which helped, and he married Benny Dariush's sister, who's a lovely lady, who was a nurse. But that's how I met Benny years ago. And I was just struck by how nice of a guy he is, man. Non-drinker, just completely dedicated to others. And the reason why I bring this up is one of his charities is called Promise Child. And he took his $50,000 bonus for when he destroyed Scott Holtzman with that elbow and used it to help build an orphanage in Haiti. And then, you know, I don't want to use last names for HIPAA reasons. This is my homeboy, Knight Lawson. We sponsor this child through Promise Child. I'm not overwhelmingly religious, but I'm always down for good people and a good cause. And this is a guy that represents that. So he's never going to sell whiskey for $1 billion, but, you know, he may help change the fate of a child in a different country. And I think that's a mic drop right there.
What? Give us the link where we could look that up. Do you know it?
I do. But I don't want to be accused of promoting it's called Promise Child.
Okay.
Start with there.
Well,
I'm just looking at my paperwork.
I will. I'll get it posted on the River City Media site. And yeah, man, you know, all that, everything that we do here. You know, I tell everybody, I do this. I've got high school football starting in August. I'm never going to get retired doing high school football, but just get something if one of those kids get a little attention and get to go to college because we put a video package together, anything you do in life comes back in spades like that, man. So, of course, good people exist. Now, not all of them are willing to send $50,000 to an orphanage because that's just incredible. So
He took his full bonus and sent it there, man, and used it there.
And we're hoping to do more with him down the road. And, of course, maybe somebody get him on the show or something. And
We're trying.
we've got something big coming for the start of football season. And Lenny, you're in. That night, it's everybody involved with River City Media is going to be in a big party. We're going to pack out a local drinking establishment and have some fun that night. So, all right, guys, I appreciate it, Lenny, and we'll see you again real soon. And Raj, next Tuesday at 9. Lenny, telling you, man, awesome job. I appreciate it, brother.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate it, guys. It's good to see you, and we'll see you soon.
Yes, sir.
All right, bye-bye.